Curiosity, the single driving force for knowledge. Knowledge that can truly change the world. The Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj Vastu Sangrahalaya is a legacy that has thrived and survived. Indeed, lived to tell the tale every moment. And it has continued to nurture this curiosity for the last 100 years. In 2022, as we bring in the museum's centenary year, it's time to celebrate its contribution in cherishing our heritage, celebrating communities, preserving the arts, building connections, and conserving our legacy.
The concept of the museum is changing. As the museum evolves and grows in popularity, it becomes more accountable to the different communities living in the city. The museum of the future will be a community space where people can see their identity in terms of cultural continuity.
One of the things which we have very clearly said is that it shall not be an elitist museum. Everything would have to be of appeal, not only to the learned, the rich, but also the not so learned, not so rich. Also, I think what has changed is that we are more than a museum. We are hoping to become a people's place.
The museum is important for Mumbai, but also Mumbai is important for the museum. And the museum is really a depository of objects, of memories that have been collected over perhaps 100 years in Mumbai, which find their safe custodianship in the museum. So in a sense, it's a custodian of the memory of the city. And of course, the city is important for it because it responds to the city. The city is its client in a sense. And that synergy, I think you find in tremendous ways in the museum.
I think a museum is important anywhere because a museum takes you to a time and a period and a culture of which you have really no idea to begin with. You can read up on it, you can go there, but seeing adds another dimension to it. And I think museum objects are like interactions. They're visual. There are no boundaries to these visual objects. So there is a lot to be gained. And today, the methodologies with which they do museum exhibition and all, in the galleries is tremendous. You get so much knowledge out of it and such a wonderful experience. It's very enriching.
Now, I have seen the changes in this museum in last 30 years. But I think our museum, as you know, is one of the finest museums in the country. And it has changed with the times. We have introduced new display systems, interactives, how to engage the visitors. The number of exhibitions which I explained, they are not mere exhibitions. Along with that, we have several programs which are arranged. Like there will be seminars, workshops, then there will be art workshops where people can actually have hands-on activities. Then there will be cultural programs, music programs along with. So the previous approach of exhibition is just making the displays no more existing now. And I think that's the most successful medium to change this approach and reaching out to communities in a better way.
But so we all come with different expectations, different things that we want a museum to do for us. If I experience something different, right? If a work of art or an installation, deepens my understanding of the cultural context of these images and the aesthetics of it and so on and so forth, then I'm grateful. I really am very grateful.
Even in its physical form, the museum building represents a binding force within the community, a design that conveys a philosophy of preserving and respecting cultures, multidimensionality, and the breaking of cultural boundaries. The building is thus not merely a structure, but a landmark.
It's interesting, personally, when I used to visit as a kid, like how most people visited the museum in schools, you were completely awed by seeing the grandeur and seeing this kind of building. As you are aware, Mumbai was a Gothic revival, architecture was chosen as a kind of an official language. And that was in the late 19th century. But a very interesting thing happened in the early 20th century where the focus shifted from Gothic revival to Indo-Saracenic. Again, with the use of an architectural vocabulary which blended and reflected the Indianness in the British architecture in India. And especially since it was supposed to be a museum, it was a competition which was floated. And the entrants tried to take the elements of the Indian architecture into it. The style, as I mentioned to you, is Indo-Saracenic, noted from its arches, domes, minarets, and the chhajjas, the jali work. And it stands out to be one of the finest examples of how the buildings could be blended in the early 20th century with this style.
The year was 1905. At a public meeting at the town hall, a promise was made to give the people at Bombay a gift of their cultural legacy. A group of illustrious members came together to carve a vision for the museum. They overcame many hurdles to finally launch the museum in 1921. This institution, from its very inception till today, is supported by the people.
The Bombay Presidency considered the request of Citizens' Council and agreed to grant a piece of land. And the piece of land is known as Crescent Site. And the only condition they laid that the people of Bombay, they should be in position to raise money for the construction of the building and should be in position to maintain it in future. And the citizens accepted the challenge. Building was built with citizens' contribution largely.
It is free of influence by any one family, by the government, or any official body. It is a truly independent body. It is professionally and independently managed. Today, the CSMVS is a global role model for museums of its type.
The CSMVS is a global museum, firstly because of its collections, which cover such a wide geographical range, but almost more important is because it has partnerships and friendships with museums around the world, which allows it to tell truly global stories through its exhibitions and its public programs.
Nowadays, all the exhibitions which are done, very often the design and the construction of the things is done internally. We have, of course, a world-class conservation sector, which I think is really world-class and definitely one of the best in this part of the world.
If you see the historic, sacred, and artistic works, these are under the custodianship of various institutions and individuals across the Indian subcontinent. CSMVS has been a repository for almost 70,000 of such works. The thing is that every institution also celebrates its collections by displaying them and researching them. And these objects tell their own stories. Well, one of the stories, the untold story or the little told story, is the one of the conservation and restoration of these artifacts that ensure their longevity.
Conserve Art Storage Reorganization. In a first in the country, the Conserve Art City CSMVS Art Conservation Project works to upgrade the museum storages. A state-of-the-art storage solution. It ensures preventive conservation for over 20,000 historically and artistically significant art objects at CSMVS annually.
The museum is of critical importance to the city of Mumbai because of the ability that it provides in the enjoyment and education of its population, especially the younger part of that population. That population is one that can learn a great deal from the culture, economic legacy that is carried and embodied in the museum.
You know, most big cities in India have their theatres, their museums and their libraries in the center of town, which can often be very inaccessible for the public. It's a challenge for institutions like ours, the CSMVS, the museum, to reach out to the public who are in far-flung areas. And therefore, the City CSMVS Museum on Wheels outreach project for us is the biggest socio-cultural project that we have here in the museum. If, as a museum, we have to remain relevant in the future, we have to really play our civic role properly. We have 2 state-of-the-art buses that carry knowledge from the museum in the form of exhibitions, objects, and educational activities that go to far-flung areas into Maharashtra, deep into rural places in Gujarat, and reach out to the children over there. These projects are quite exciting because each time a bus lands up in a village, it's almost like a mela. For us, it's been a very, very rewarding project. And we feel that if we are stepping into the bicentenary now, we really need to expand outreach programs such as this one so that we can reach out to the public who can't reach the museum. And that's why we say that, you know, if you can't come to the museum will come to you with the Museum on Wheels.
City India has a long history of promoting art and culture in India. And for us, having partners like the CSMVS is critical for us spreading that vision. We very much look forward to our association with CSMVS continuing into the future. And I also want to take this opportunity to thank the wonderful team at the museum, and especially its visionary director, Mr. Mukherjee, for all the leadership that it provides.
About 1/4 of the visitors annually to the CSMVS are children, and another half are family audiences, making the building of a children's museum the natural next step towards the extension of the CSMVS. A long-standing dream of our Director General Sabyasachi Mukherjee, this dream reached fruition in 2014 when Bank of America Merrill Lynch joined hands to support this project. The Children's Museum opened to visitors in 2019, and all of the exhibitions, programs, festivals, even the partnerships that we've had with schools, colleges and NGOs since then have all embodied the spirit that we are not just child-oriented, we are child-focused. All of the activities that we design reflect not just the ideas and values that we want to impart to children, but what children themselves find relevant. We give them a platform to explore and pursue the ideas and thoughts that pique their curiosity.
Bank of America began its partnership with the CSMVS several years ago, with its support to the conservation of miniature paintings, the making of the Children's Museum, and more recently, the research and documentation of collections are other projects supported by them. Kaku Nakate, President and Country Head India, Bank of America, is not only a patron, but an active participant in its corporate social responsibility activities.
That we are the only museum in the world located in a heritage building, in a heritage precinct, to have achieved that distinction. So I think it's a very great honor to this museum. I'm glad I could play a role in getting that honor or earning that honor for us. So the certification entailed that we emphasize more on solar energy. Not only did it give us great savings in terms of financial savings, but it also made the environment healthier to that extent. So we did that. We did great water harvesting. It's millions of liters of water today. For example, this lawn, which is close to 4.5 acres, because the whole property is, I think, 6 acres, is watered through
through harvested water. We also, the step we took was for monitoring the air in the building itself. So water conservation, water harvesting, using non-municipal water, taking advantage of what nature has given us.
The museum has received tremendous support from its partners, and notable among them is the Museum Society of Mumbai. The society conducts activities related to Indian art and culture, like insightful lectures, interactive programs, and workshops by renowned scholars and professionals in their respective fields from India and abroad.
Very forward-looking step that the CSMVS, the Prince of Wales Museum, took at that time. And we became friends. We are really the friends of the museum. We work with the museum very closely. So we really have grown in harmony in more ways than one. And we have, I think, we have complemented the activities of the museum, which is one of our roles. As friends, we support the museum in whatever way we can.
Research is at the heart of the CSMVS's vision for the future. It has always strived to create new knowledge around its collections through its research initiatives that led to world-class publications. Each year, the museum produces an edited research journal, exhibition and collection catalogues, thematic newsletters, and monographs of specific objects and collections. The museum also runs 2 PG diploma courses in museology and conservation in affiliation with the University of Mumbai, and the Built Heritage Studies and Conservation Program in collaboration with MMRHCS and Sir J.J. College of Architecture.
I wish its message spreads to many places and also to the world actually, because not many museums are attaining this 100 years. So this is a big achievement for us, and my best wishes are with the museum.
The centenary celebration is reminiscent of the pride the citizens of Bombay felt 100 years ago when they first opened the museum's door to the public. In future, the museum wishes to establish itself as a global cultural institute of excellence that inspires new ideas and interprets the contemporary world for its visitors through its collections, that strives for the creation of new knowledge and research, that promotes young talent in the arts, that nurtures a wave of world partnership, and that creates an environment of joy